Hi, welcome to the chapter on syntax, the sentence patterns of language. Syntax is first and foremost associated with the name of linguist Chomsky. In this chapter, we talk about syntactic rules and how we use them in order to combine words to create sentences. The first thing we should decide on the definition of syntax. What is syntax? When we are talking about syntax, we might mean the speaker's knowledge about sentences. What sentences are grammatical and what sentences are not grammatical. This is the kind of knowledge that everybody who speaks a language has. All of language speakers know what are the sentences of their language, what are the rules in order to create those sentences, and which of sentences are grammatical or ungrammatical. That is, they have intuitions about the sentences. Also, there's a component of linguistics that studies this knowledge. There's knowledge of speakers, about the grammatical structure, and the rules that are used in order to arrive at those grammatical structures or sentence patterns. So, therefore, when we are talking about syntax, we have two things in mind. One is the intuitions that the speakers have about the sentences of a language, the knowledge that they have about sentences, and another one is that branch of linguistics that studies syntactic structures and how they are created. Let's read this extract from Alice's Adventure in Wonderland. Then you should say what you mean, the March Hare went on. I do, Alice hastily replied. At least I mean what I say. That's the same thing, you know. Not the same thing a bit, said the Hatter. You might just as well say I say what I ate is the same thing as I ate what I say. You might just as well say, added the March Hare, that I like what I get is the same thing as I get what I like. You might just as well say, added the Dormouse, that I breathe when I sleep is the same thing as I sleep when I breathe. It's the same thing with you, said the Adder. So, as we went through this, you might have realized that there are sentences that they have the same words. But then, just because they are combined in different ways, the meaning changes. Syntax is going to tell us how these sentences are created. What is the internal structure of these sentences? What are the groups of words that are there and they create sentences? And what order they appear? And what meaning they have? So, we'll start with this question. What is the function of syntactic rules? One of its functions is that it combines words into phrases. Phrases are groups of words that go together in a sentence. And phrases into sentences in a certain order. What do we mean? For example, every English speaker and those like you who are learners of English, you know that John ate the red apple is a well-formed grammatical sentence in English. But a sentence with words scrambled and with no certain order, it's ungrammatical. It is ill-formed. And in order to show an ill-formed sentence, we use asterisks before them. Apple ate red John there. However, we have the same words that we have here, but this sequence is not a grammatical sequence of words. In order for this sequence to be grammatical, to be well-formed, it should come like this. That first comes the noun, that is the subject, then the verb, and then what comes that is called object. And then within the object, we have a noun, and the adjective comes before that, and there's a definite marker that goes before the adjective, and they together, they make one phrase. Another function of syntactic rules is that they describe the relationship between the meaning of a group of words and the arrangement of them in a sentence. I mean what I say is not the same as I say what I mean, and that was the objection that was made against what Alice said. That I mean what I say is the same thing as I say what I mean, and then there was this objection with other sentences that just because we have a different arrangement of words, we have different meaning relations between those groups of words. They specify grammatical relations within a sentence. Who does what to whom? And the dog chased the cat. It's the dog that is doing the chasing to the cat. In contrast to the cat chased the dog, which shows the opposite situation. So therefore, the rules of syntax will tell us how the words are combined, in what order, and the order shows the grammatical relations so that we know that the dog and the dog chased the cat is the subject, but in the cat chased the dog is the object. And the cat and the dog chased the cat is the object, but in the cat chased the dog is the subject. So by changing their order, their position, we have a different grammatical relation and the meaning changes. Another function of syntactic rules is the hierarchical structure of sentences. What do we mean by hierarchical structure? That is, how words combine in order to form groups. When we are looking at these two sentences, Jack ran up the hill and Jan ran up the bill. Well, it seems that they have the same structure, but when we are doing some test, it shows up that ran up the hill and ran up the bill, they are not the same. Up the hill is a prepositional phrase, is a group, and therefore as a group they can move to the beginning of the sentence, and we can say up the hill ran Jack. But it's not possible to say up the bill ran Jack, because up is part of the verb, is a particle, is part of the verb run up, and therefore it's not possible to move it along with the object, with the bill. And here Jan ran up the bill, we have Jan subject, ran up the verb, and the bill would be the object. But in Jack ran up the hill, we have Jack and verb, and up the hill is a prepositional phrase, is the adverb. Another test is whether ran and up, they make one unit, so that you can divide them up by putting the object in between. Since in ran up the bill, ran up is a verb plus its particle and the bill is an object, it's possible to have Jan ran the bill up. But since ran up the hill, in that sentence, ran and up, they are not one unit, you cannot move up after the hill, because up the hill they make a prepositional phrase. So these two sentences, in spite of what you see on the surface that they are similar, they are different in their underlying structure. And using the syntactic rules, we are going to see what are the syntactic structures and what are the rules that are applied in order to arrive at these sentences. What grammaticality is not based on. Let's read this sentence. Colorless green ideas slip furiously. Does it make sense? No. Is it grammatical? Yes. This is a very interesting sentence because it shows that syntax can be separated from semantics. That form can be separated from meaning. The sentence doesn't seem to mean anything coherent, but it sounds like an English sentence. So when you are looking at it from the perspective of syntax, it is well-formed, it is grammatical. But when you are looking at it from the aspect of meaning, semantics, then it is odd. It is not acceptable. So, grammaticality is not based on meaningfulness. A sentence might be meaningless nonsense, but it is well-formed, grammatical, like what we have again here. A verb crumble the milk. It's like other sentences in which you have a subject, you have an object, and you have a verb. The verb is transitive and it takes an object, and therefore you can say a verb crumble the milk. But it's different when we are talking about grammaticality not being dependent on meaningfulness. We do not mean that it would be something like what we have here that doesn't have any syntactic order in it. Here, the sentence is not grammatically acceptable. It's ill-formed. But here, it's okay because it's like any other English sentences that you can have a subject, verb, object, but here, well, you cannot find any pattern in it, any sentence pattern. Also, we might see some of application of this view that grammaticality and meaningfulness are two different things in nonsense poetry. Nonsense poetry is not ungrammatical poetry, but it's a kind of poetry that it has observed all the rules of syntax, then it doesn't make sense. It doesn't have any meaning, like what we have. It was brilliant and the slithy tops did gyre and gimble in the wave. Well, it doesn't make sense, but when you are looking at the structure, you can say which one is the subject, which one is the verb, which one is prepositional phrase. The structure is acceptable, well-formed, but it doesn't have any meaning. So grammaticality and meaningfulness are two different things when we are talking about grammaticality. And grammaticality and truth are two different things. When a sentence is ungrammatical, it doesn't observe the rules of grammar. But if a sentence is not true, untrue sentences, lies, fantasies, imaginary sentences, well, they are grammatical, but then their meaning does not correspond to what is there in reality. So that's the difference between reality. Truth is something that is related to reality rather than grammaticality. Otherwise, it would have been easy to say who is lying. But we cannot distinguish lies, true and untrue sentences from each other. There's no way to say whether it's a lie or it's not a lie, it's true or it's untrue. So therefore, grammaticality is not dependent on meaningfulness and truth. So now we start with sentence structure. Gertrude Stein says, I really do not know that anything has ever been more exciting than diagramming sentences. And we learn to love trees. However, we love trees, but we learn to love tree diagrams as well. We draw tree diagrams in order to show the hierarchical structure of sentences and how these words combine in order to form sentences. When we are talking about hierarchical organization, that's only the grouping of words in natural units. For example, we have a sentence, the child found a puppy. What are the groups in this sentence? We have that group of words, the child, that makes the subject, and that group of words that makes the predicate, found the puppy. And within the predicate, we have a verb, found, and a puppy that they make a group. And we have tests in order to say whether they are making a natural group, a natural unit, or not. And we show this using a tree like this. And it shows the relationship between the subject and the predicate. Here the subject, and here the predicate, and here you have the verb that has a puppy as the object within it. In these trees, what do we have? First, if you have already noticed, these trees do not grow upward, but they are upside down. The branches are binary. That is, you have two branches and no more than that. You have two branches all over the tree. So branching is binary. The root is the whole sentence. And the leaves are words. The nodes, we will come to them, they are syntactic categories. And what is the relation? The relationship is the relationship of a dominance. For example, the sentence dominates whatever is beneath that. And the sentence is the mother of all of these nodes. And then child, they are sisters, found a puppy, they are sisters. So here the relationship is the relationship of a mother node and sister nodes. And the kind of relation is domination, that starts from a higher node and it goes down to whatever that is beneath it. For example, found has the node VP and it dominates whatever is within that, which is found itself and a puppy. We know more about them as we are proceeding in the chapter. What are constituents? And are there any tests in order to say what are constituents? Constituent is the term. Constituent is the term that we give to those groups of words that go together as a natural unit. So therefore, the natural groupings or parts of a sentence are constituent. If we go back, so here the subject, the child is a constituent. A puppy is a constituent. Found a puppy is a constituent. So then, constituent is the natural groupings or parts of a sentence. Are there constituency tests? Are there ways in order to recognize a constituent, to say what is a constituent? Yes. One of them is standalone test. When we are answering a question, in answer to that question, we say one phrase. That phrase is a constituent. For example, if we want to make a question based on the sentence that we have, that the child found a puppy. So the question can be, what did the child find? A puppy. That tells us that a puppy is a constituent. Or we can say, who found the puppy? Who found the puppy? The child. The child is a constituent. What did the child do? Found a puppy. Found a puppy is a constituent. So therefore, we go through the sentence and find the constituents by asking questions about each certain part. And whatever comes as answer to those questions and it stands alone, it's a constituent. Another way is to make substitution by a pronoun. A constituent can be substituted, can be replaced by a pronoun. For example, in a sentence, where did the child find the puppy? An answer, we can say she found it in the park. She refers to the child and it refers to the puppy. So we have this constituent and this constituent. Or the child found a puppy and the father did too. What is did? Did is a proof form for found a puppy. Rather than saying the child found a puppy and the father found a puppy too, say the father did too. Did is a proof form that refers to found a puppy. It is substituting found a puppy, replacing found a puppy. So therefore, the second test is whether that group of words can be replaced by a pronoun or not. Another test is move as a unit. If a group of words make a phrase, make a constituent, when they move as a unit. For example, when we are passivizing sentences, the object moves as a unit. And we have a sentence like this: a puppy was found by the child. A sentence like this that we have, for example, A was found by the child puppy is ungrammatical. And this sentence, another sentence, in order to show how the constituent moves, it was a puppy that the child found. And we know that a puppy has been here and it has moved from after the verb to a place after it was for pseudo-clef sentences. And this is the structure of this sentence, that the child is a constituent, a puppy is a constituent, and found a puppy is a constituent based on these tests that we had here. Syntactic categories. When we want to draw tree diagrams, we need to annotate those tree diagrams with syntactic categories, with some shortcuts to refer to those groups of words. A syntactic category is like a constituent, a family of expressions that they can substitute for each other without loss of grammaticality. For example, in this sentence, the child found a puppy, your neighbor found a puppy, this yellow cat found a puppy, her mother found a puppy, she found a puppy. All of these expressions that can substitute each other, and the sentence is still grammatical when you are substituting them with each other. They make up one syntactic category. What is their syntactic category? What is the name of this group of words that can substitute for each other and the sentence would remain grammatical? That's noun phrase. So therefore, what is a syntactic category? It's a family, a set of expressions that can substitute for each other without leading to ungrammaticality. This is the list of lexical categories. Lexical categories, you are familiar with them from morphology, and phrasal category is what we know more about here. Words like man, happiness, soup, they are noun. When they come within a sentence, they might come as plural, and then they would make up an NP, man, the man, along with a definite article or with some complementary information about the man, some modification about the man over there. So that would make up a phrasal category. Like we can say, man found a puppy. The man found a puppy. The man over there found a puppy. So therefore, it also makes an NP, the phrasal category or syntactic category NP, and they can substitute for what we had, the list of words that we have already had in the sentence, the child found a puppy. Find, run, believe, they are verbs, and the phrasal category that corresponds to that is VP. So the head, the lexical category, is verb, and the phrasal category that is built based on this verb is VP. The core of this can be an adjective like red, big, hopeful, and they might appear in phrases like happy, really happy, fond of her, and the phrasal category that is made up of an adjective as the head of it, as the core of it, is adverb phrase. Adjective phrase. AP. Again, always varied. They are adverbs and they make phrases more brightly. The phrasal category is adv or adverb phrase. On a crossover is a preposition, and as a preposition it always takes an NP category as its complement, over the hill, and the phrasal category of it would be PP. So if a phrase therefore has its head P, like over here, the phrasal category is PP. We have they, that, each. These words, if you remember, they are functional words, and therefore their category is a functional category. What is the functional category of the, that, each that are functional words is determiner or that. That book, each of them, we have a DP here. Has, can, they show tense. They are modal verbs or auxiliaries and they show tense. And therefore, they are given the functional category T, tense. Like what we have, tense always appears in a sentence. It is realized in a sentence. If there would be no sentence, there would be no tense. So that's why we have a sentence as an example. The boy has bought the book. And the phrasal category for the whole sentence is TP because every sentence has tense and tense is its core, and therefore the phrasal category of a sentence is TP. That, for example, that she comes is a complementizer, is a C, and the phrasal category for that is CP. What is phrase structure 3? The theory that we are going to talk about is called export theory. In this theory, we have, binary branching trees. There is a head, which is the core of every phrase, and it can be lexical or functional. And in that case, if we say that head is X, X equals N, head can be a noun, X can be a noun, head can be a verb, X can be a verb, head can be an adjective, X therefore can be an adjective, head can be an adverb, X can be an adverb, head can be a preposition, therefore X can be P, head can be tense for sentence, X is T, head can be complementizer like that, and X is C in that case, or it can be a determiner, in that case it's D. And this is how we show it. Export theory. We have 3 levels. There is one level which is the level of head. There is this one level that we see why we need it. We need it in order to add its complements and adjunctions later. And there is a maximal projection XP. This is the phrasal category. Rather than X, we can have N. N, N bar, NP. V, V bar, VP. A bar, AP, and so on. Complement is a phrasal category that occurs next to a head. So here we have the head. Next to a head comes a phrasal category without which the phrase is ungrammatical. For example, found. Can you say the child found? The child found is ungrammatical. We need to have an object for that. Without that, the phrase is ungrammatical. Found a puppy is grammatical. So this phrasal category that occurs next to head, without which the phrase is ungrammatical, is complement. Here we have the complements of X next to it as its sister. So the complement of X is the sister of X and daughter of X bar, or we can say X bar is dominating X and complement of X, or we can say X bar is the mother of X and the mother of its complement. And a specifier is a phrase that precedes a head. It comes before the head. To this, and in different languages it might appear to the right or to the left, but whatever it is, it has a structural notation and it can be empty. It adds a modification. It modifies the X. It adds extra information about the head. And when we want to draw the tree, it comes as the daughter of XP and sister of X bar. This is important, that the specifier is daughter of XP and sister of X bar, and complement is sister of X head and daughter of X bar. This is very important, and this binary branching tree is used in order to illustrate the syntactic structure of sentences in all world languages. If you learn this, then you would be able to represent diagrammatically all the sentences of world languages, and you need just a little bit more to be able to represent all of the sentences in that language. Phrase structure tree or constituent structure tree is the name of this diagram. This diagram is called PS tree or CS tree, phrase structure tree or constituent structure tree. What's it? It's a tree diagram with syntactic categories. Here you have one syntactic category, one syntactic categories, syntactic categories. And it shows the speaker's intuition about how words are grouped in a sentence. So it tells us about how native speakers, they group words into sentences in a sentence. Let's have a syntactic analysis of this noun phrase, the mother of James Whistler. And the mother of James Whistler, what is the head? The head is the noun mother. And of James Whistler is the complement of mother. And there is one word which is the specifier of the mother. Let's see how we can draw the tree for that. So first we have mother, and mother is a noun that is related, that it has at another level n bar, and we have NP as its maximal projection. Head next to the head is its complement. And here, what is the complement of James Whistler? And to the right of N bar, sister of NP, sister of N bar and daughter of NP is its specifier of N, which is the determiner they here. So this is how we draw the tree diagram, phrase structure 3 for the mother of James Whistler. Betty made Jane wary of snakes, and we are going to represent this AP, wary of snakes. Jane wary of snakes. Wary is the adjective. And this adjective takes a complement. It's not the case that all adjectives would have complements, but some adjectives, they have complements, and if they have complements, then we represent them in the tree diagrams, in the phrase structure trees. And in this case, it's not the case always, but in this case, in this sentence, wary has a specifier that this wary is true about Jane. And the complement is snakes. Let's see how we represent it. We have wary, which is an adjective, and we know that it has two other projections, A bar and AP. That sister to A is its complement, which is a PP here of snakes, and that it has a specifier, and the specifier is NP, Jane, and we have Jane wary of snakes. This is how we represent this sentence, this phrase. In this sentence, I heard Pavarotti saying an aria. How do we represent it? Here, what we have as the head, so we have heard, then we have sing. So we have a VP as a complement of heard. We are not going to talk about it right now. Later, we come to the whole sentence. Now we want to analyze this part. Here we have a verb, and this verb has a complement, sing an aria. An aria is its object, and it has a specifier that singing is done by that, is related to that. So we have verb sing, and it has a complement. The complement of it is an aria, and it has specifier, and the specifier is an NP, and well, it gets to N bar and N Pavarotti, and the complement of V and aria. So now let's do analysis of the whole sentence. The child found a puppy. If you remember, we said that the head of a sentence is a T, because every sentence is tensed. It has tense, like present, past, or it might have modal verbs that come in the tense position. Therefore, we say tense, or T, is the head of a sentence. And when we want to draw the phrase structure tree for that, we start with the head of the sentence, which is T. And this T is past because we have found. Okay. And complement to this T is VP, and a specifier of this T and TP is NP. NP has an intermediate projection and bar, and it has a det, a determiner, because we have there, and then we have child, the child. This is how we represent the child. And we have a VP, and the VP has an intermediate projection V, and then it gets to the head V. Fine, and it has a complement, which is a puppy, and it has a determiner and a noun puppy. So this is how we resemble the whole sentence. We start with T, that is the head, and we add specifier and complement of it. So complement of T is VP and specifier of T is NP. And complement of T comes sister to it and under T bar, and specifier of T bar comes as the sister to T bar and daughter of TP. So based on what we have already said, every sentence has tense. Tense is the head of a sentence, and therefore we have TP. The specifier of TP is subject. The child is the subject. So specifier of TP is subject. The complement of V here is object. The complement of V is object. This is the grammatical relationship between the NPs here. When we have an NP, there they have a grammatical relation. And here we have decided what would be their grammatical relation. Every higher category dominates all the categories beneath it. TP dominates all of these categories up to puppy. And VP dominates find and A and puppy and whatever is in between. But does VP dominate child? No. It only dominates what's within its scope. That it dominates. It cannot dominate here, that is, it only dominates downward. Whatever is beneath that. But TP dominates NP, VP, and NP here, up to N here. Categories that are dominated by the same mother node. So this, that is dominated by the same mother node, these two are sisters. And T bar, T and VP are sisters. Here in NP, Det and N bar, they are sisters. Here V and NP are sisters that are dominated by the same mother node. Let's wrap up what we have already seen in the phrase structure trees. What do they show? One of the things that phrase structure trees show is the order of words in a sentence. They tell us which word comes where in the sentence. So every tree therefore tells us about the linear order, that they comes before child, and child comes before find, and find comes before A and puppy. And they tell us about the syntactic categories of words. Right? In the tree, all the nodes, they had some syntactic categories. Words had categories, and groups of words had categories. Here, the word child has a category, and we have this category, phrasal category here. And they tell us about the hierarchical structure of the syntactic categories. That is, which one comes where. And for example, the VP is underneath TP, which is the sentence, and its specifier is NP, and within VP we have V and NP, and this is the relationship that is between them, that VP mothers V and NP. This brings us to the end of the first session. In next session, we talk about selection and other phrase structure trees in the language, and we go through phrase structure rules of English. Good luck.